everyone. I'm Tanner. I'm on the investment team at the LegalTech Fund, and welcome to In Studio with Joseph. Joining me today is Tom Dreyfus, CEO and co-founder of Joseph. It's great to have you in the studio. For those
Thanks for
turning
having me,
in,
Tanner.
absolutely. For those tuning in, Joseph is an AI-powered platform that helps legal and compliance teams unblock and drive the business, from self-service QA to on-demand document generation and workflow automation. Joseph is redefining how teams focus on the real work with less noise. Backed by the Legal Tech Fund, yours truly, Joseph is trusted by teams across the Fortune 500, the ASX 200, and some of the world's largest law firms. In this conversation, we'll unpack how Joseph is scaling, what's resonating in the market, what's not, and where the next wave of legal automation is heading. So, Tom, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Absolutely happy to, and always great to be speaking to the Legal Tech Fund. I am Tom, one of the co-founders and CEO of Joseph. I was a corporate litigator for a few years. I worked in-house, both in not-for-profits and on the corporate side for a couple of years there. And then I actually spent some time teaching at law schools. Black letter legal subjects like constitutional law and evidence. And it was my time there combined with my time across private practice and in-house that really gave me the breadth of experience to identify the types of problems that we solve at Joseph today and that I'm looking forward to telling you more about.
Awesome. I love it. So let's dive right in. A question that we get a lot when it comes to any tool selling to, in-house and law firms is, where are you seeing the strongest traction across corporate legal, compliance, or law firms? And what do you think is driving that adoption?
So that answer for us would have been completely different 3 years ago to what it is today. It probably would have been completely different 2 years ago to what it is today. The answer today is 100% and so clearly corporate legal teams. They are adopting Joseph faster than law firms, whether they're big law firms or small law firms. And the thing that I think is driving corporate legal teams to adopt Joseph and to adopt AI in a more purposeful and more sophisticated way than many of the law firms that we work with is what I think is a pretty perfect value alignment between what AI can do. It can save you time, it can drive efficiency, it can allow you to insource more, get more done yourself with the way that corporate legal teams want to work, which is they want to be able to do more themselves. They want to drive more efficiency. They want to drive growth in their business. The value alignment, from my perspective, isn't perfect between AI platforms and law firms, especially law firms that are still focused on billing for their time. Um, and so I know that without opening that can of worms, the end of the billable hour, um, at Joseph, we are seeing a really clear wave of adoption in corporate legal teams who see an opportunity to use our platform to drive growth for their business.
Absolutely. There's a stat we always come back to at the fund, which is in-house legal teams have one of the highest marks of any professional sector when they score or rank the applicability of Gen AI to their own tool. So it makes total sense. And with that, would love to maybe hear how you've learned, about how lawyers and compliance teams are actually using Joseph
Mm.
versus how maybe you expected initially they would, and like would love to hear maybe some customer stories with that.
Cool. So I think that uh, one of the one of the things that we expected originally when we first set out to build Joseph was that lawyers with the legal professionals would be up for creating their own tools. This is way back in the day when Joseph was an automation platform, like a no-code automation platform for building your own automation tools. And I will be the first to admit that we were wrong about that. We were wrong. Lawyers and in-house legal counsel, whose time is so precious, so valuable, are not going to spend hours and hours and hours building their own automation tools. Learning that the hard way actually set us up to do what we've done now, which is enable legal professionals to control and maintain and manage their own AI tools to deliver self-service experiences to their businesses without having to do the kind of nitty-gritty, bit by bit kind of painstaking flowchart creation work of an automation platform. Um, and I think that unlock, that idea that the thing that's going to drive AI adoption in legal teams is the ability to control their tools, is guiding so much of the product development work we do at Joseph. So the way in which lawyers and compliance teams use Joseph now is they create tools that can deliver self-service answers to questions, self-service documents, self-service workflows for the business. So business users can get the legal help they need when they need it. But the thing that our platform does better than anyone else out there is provide the opportunity for those lawyers to control those tools. It's that trust layer, like we talk about it internally as the legal control layer, um, that we think is unlocking more of the types of use cases that we're really excited about seeing. Um, you asked about customers, so like I'll give a good recent example. We work with the excellently named global swimming pool manufacturer Fluidra, um, really big company, operating globally, around 7,000 employees, and led by legal and compliance. They are taking their corporate policies, standards, and regulations, the internal content about which legal and compliance gets so many of the same boring FAQs day in, day out. And they're creating tools for the business to get answers to those questions automatically without needing to go through legal. The only way legal and compliance gets comfortable with that is because they have control over the tools. They can train the tools, they can see the answers, they can moderate the answers, they can make sure the tools get better over time. That insight drives kind of everything we do and everything our customers value about the way our products work.
I love it, and not to keep quoting stats, but it just really resonated. We found that close to 50% of in-house lawyers' time can be spent on communications or just drowning in really high volume, low stakes, repetitive requests, and like the ability to hand them a trusted layer to automate that is huge. And so maybe segueing nicely into the next question here is like, what core metrics do you guys track to prove that kind of ROI, and which ones really resonate with GCs and legal op leaders?
I mean, at the most basic level, there are two core metrics that our customers care about because they are the two core things that they use our platform for: questions answered and documents generated. Now, you can extrapolate from those things all sorts of different types of value, like the consistency of knowing that every document is being generated in the same way, or the risk management of knowing that answers to questions that people are asking are going to be delivered in a consistent and controlled way. But ultimately, the North Star metric for our customers, the one that determines ROI, is going to be time saved. For them, that's the one that's going to say, okay, and we need to talk about the economics of this, I think, more directly, more openly. If we are going to spend this much money on an AI platform, we need to see a return on that dollar investment. And for most corporate legal teams, the best way to measure that return remains, for better or for worse, and I actually think there are other ways to measure value, but it remains time saved, because that tells them maybe I'm not going to need to make that next hire quite as soon as I was otherwise going to need to. Or, and I get way more excited about this one, maybe because I've taken 20, 30% off my existing team's workload answering those FAQs, they can do higher value work that previously we would have been briefing to outside counsel. And that was really expensive. So if I can bring down that outside counsel bill, all of a sudden because of the time saved from the tools I built on Joseph, I'm seeing exponential ROI.
I love it. And that outside counsel bill is only going to continue to get larger. So it makes sense to be able to prove out time savings. Maybe switching to go to market a little bit. In the last
Mm.
year, year and a half, which product bets or go to market strategies have been the most effective for you at Joseph?
So I think that the bet that we've made over the last 18 months is that focusing on, and this is on the product side, focusing on that end user experience, even though we sell our product to legal teams, is what's going to drive growth for us. So, yes, the buyer of our platform is the legal and compliance team. They are the ones who need to be convinced that we are delivering for them a product that can handle the types of documents they want to generate. They can handle the types of questions they get. They can deliver them that level of control they need to actually go live with these tools. But ultimately, none of that matters if the tools that they build aren't used and used again and again and again and again and more and more and more by the business. And so we made a bet 18 months ago and we said, we are going to create beautiful end user experiences. And that's what we're going to be known for. That's what our customers are going to love about us because their clients, their customers, their end users, the business is going to use these tools and start raving about them. And we're going to turn the legal and compliance teams into these kind of magicians within an organization who have the capacity to deliver beautiful user experiences, not traditionally something associated with legal and compliance. That bet has paid off in spades for us. It's the one that, and when I talk to our customers, this is the thing they tell me. It's the one that their businesses get excited about and kind of don't believe that legal and compliance is leading the charge on. Um, and this is my opportunity to give a seriously big shout out to my design, product, and engineering teams because without them, none of that is possible. I get to be on the front lines talking to customers, but they're the ones doing the hard work of building the thing.
And maybe, what surprised you, something that didn't land or resonate in market, and why do you think, you were able to shift?
So I think that the thing that didn't work for us was trying to be all things to all people. There are so many legal AI platforms. And for a little while there, we saw the size of the opportunity and we thought, we too can be a legal AI platform and we'll kind of work out the problems we solve later because everyone will just be so excited about a legal AI platform that they'll come and buy our software. And we were straight up wrong about that. When we shifted our focus to the specific problems that our customers have, to the even more specific use cases and workflows that they need to solve for, that was when we started seeing the kind of traction that we're continuing to see today. If I had my time again, I would have gone narrow and I would have gone narrower um, than than the kind of broad-based legal AI platform approach that we took in the early days.
I love it. There's definitely a lot of AI first noise in the market, and focusing on your end customers' experience and problems is a way to cut through. I'm curious though, what remains the biggest blocker in your mind to self-service legal automation at scale, and how are you tackling it today and in the future?
So this is a great question. I think that there are a couple of blockers, but the biggest one for me remains the tension between a lawyer's role in a company um, and the way in which, especially this emerging generative AI technology operates. So, if you think about lawyers and the way they're trained, we are trained risk managers. It is literally our job from going through law school to getting our first jobs as attorneys to going in-house. Everywhere we look, we analyze the problems before us through a risk lens. When you have probabilistic systems like generative AI, in which it is hard and much harder to control risk than it was using the rules-based systems that we used in the early days of automation, you have this tension between what you're trained to do, which is see and manage risk, and what generative AI is capable of, which is extraordinary things with a bit of risk. Finding a path through that tension, and I think the tension's totally natural, by the way. I don't think it's not a bad thing. It's a natural tension, but finding a path through that creates friction in the adoption cycle, and friction slows you down by its very nature. And so it's not that I see it as a blocker. It's not something that you need to bash through or jump over or anything like that. It's friction. And so our job at Joseph is to find a way to smooth out that adoption cycle, to grease the wheels, to reduce the friction. For us, that looks like delivering control, because control is a feature in our platform. It's the way we design our platform to give control to lawyers whose risk management tendencies conflict with the capabilities of generative AI. Adding that control layer in is the thing that unlocks the potential for rapid adoption of legal AI in corporate legal teams.
I love it. And last question, and then we'll get you out of here, Tom. If we fast forward 3, 5 years, how do you see Joseph's role and automation's role, maybe more broadly, changing how legal and compliance teams operate? Maybe that's a world with much less friction that you just
Mm.
alluded to, but would love to hear your thoughts.
I think we are rapidly heading for a world in which in-house legal and compliance teams are spending significantly more of their time on higher order work. Um, that is ultimately, we see two sides to our mission. One is enabling lawyers to work on the things that matter. But the other one, and we've been talking about this a lot internally, is making sure that in a business, you never have to speak to your lawyer again about that thing that you never wanted to speak to them about in the first place. You've got a question about who can sign this. You've got a question about what someone's very specific annual leave rights are in a country. You've got a question about what the tax regime is over here in another region. And you don't want to ask your legal and compliance team. That is not the thing you got out of bed to do that day. Never having to ask them again about that thing, that's what it looks like in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, if Joseph has succeeded in delivering the type of control to lawyers and compliance professionals and the types of beautiful end user experiences that the business is going to need to see to use and keep using these tools.
Incredible. Tom, thanks so much for spending some time together today. Before we wrap, for the folks tuning in and listening, where's the best way for prospects or potential customers to get a hold of the Joseph team?
Absolutely. You can find everything you need to find at josephlegal.com. Or you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn, DM me anytime. I'm always open for a conversation.
I love it. Well, Tom, so great to chat today, and look forward to keeping in touch here.
Thanks for having me, Tanner.